Welcome to JMeter Tutorial Session 1. Today we are going to see the JMeter basic features and how to install it, how to download JMeter, what are the prerequisites, and everything about the basics of JMeter. So coming to topics. So today's topics covered are: first is what is JMeter, then how actually JMeter works, then we have prerequisites and the difference between JDK, JRE, and JVM, that is Java Virtual Machine. And after that, we'll see how to download prerequisites for JMeter and how to configure JMeter also. So next is JMeter features. What are the features which we'll see in JMeter? What are advantages over other performance testing tool? And after that we'll see the different types of launching of JMeter. There are various types which we can actually launch JMeter, and each and every launching type has its own advantages and its own purpose. So after that we'll see the overview of JMeter GUI. So now moving to what actually is JMeter. So directly before going to JMeter tool, first we need to understand what is performance testing. So when we say performance testing, so it means that we will be validating the application, looking into the perspective of non-function attributes such as responsiveness, scalability, and other aspects also. So basically, on the broader sense, it is all about how responsive your application is. There are various tools in the market for performance testing, and JMeter is widely used basically for FTP protocol and as well as web application. Now coming to what is JMeter is, it is a Java based application which is an open source software which was developed under Apache Software Foundation and which is widely used for performance testing of web application. And it supports multiple protocols also. We'll see about different protocols later part of the tutorial. So it is a Java desktop application with graphical interface and very user-friendly GUI, as I can say, which is very easy to use, and it can run on multiple platforms such as Windows, Linux, Mac, etc. So there are various protocols which are supported by JMeter. Few of them are HTTP, HTTPS, as well as web services such as SOAP, REST, and database via JDBC drivers. Also, we can actually test using JMeter. Apart from this, FTP is actually widely used, and JMeter is the first choice where if we see for the FTP service testing. So this is all basic about what is JMeter. Now we will move forward and see how actually JMeter works. So what actually JMeter does is, it sends the request from the system where JMeter has been installed to the target server, that is application under test server, and get the response from this application under test server, and it will actually get all the statistics like what the response it is getting from the application under test server, and it will gather all the information and it will show you as a report via different kind of listeners. What are listeners? We will talk about that later part of the tutorial. So on the very basic overview how actually JMeter works is, it mimics multiple users using the application system server, and it hits different kind of uh, request which has been actually part of your script. It will send a request to the target server, gather all the response and as well as response time, how much time it took for a particular service or request to get the response from the target server, and it will accumulate all the information, gather all the statistics and show you in your report. So basically why we need any tool for performance testing is if we see logically that suppose you want to test for a particular application, you want 100 simultaneous or concurrent users who are using the system at the same time and doing various activity on the application. So there are two approaches. First one is either you can assign 100 of different human resources for that particular activity. You have to assign 100 different machines to each of the user who will be using the application manually and hitting the different requests at the same time. But that is a very tedious and costly effort. So that's why we actually use performance testing tools where we can actually automate the different workflow of your application, and while when we are going to do the load test, we'll just run with the simultaneous users. So how we record and how actually we enhance our script and how we use those scripts to actually do the load test, we will see all those things in the latter part of the tutorial. Now, so the next is what are the prerequisites for JMeter. The first thing you need is Java, JDK, and JRE in your personal computer where you want to actually install JMeter. The first thing come in mind is what is JDK. So JDK stands for Java Development Kit. It basically allows you to actually execute and develop your Java program, and it is actually used by developers only. So next is JRE, that is Java Runtime Environment. So it is nothing but a installation package which actually provides the environment where you can run your Java program. So for this end users will be the testers who are the users who are using the Java program. Next is the Java virtual machine, which is very important because it is part of both JDK and JRE, and whatever program you run using JRE or JDK goes to Java virtual machine. And Java virtual machine is solely responsible for the executing Java program line by line. That's why it is called interpreter also. Yeah, so this is the difference between JDK, JRE, and JVM. So, so the next is how to download and install Java and how to configure JMeter. There are various steps. These are very easy. Actually, installing JMeter is the most easy as compared to other tools because it is a zip folder. It is a completely zipped folder where you just have to download it and unzip in your app in your personal computer where you want to run the test. So the step one is download and install Java. So on the screen you can see this is the Oracle website URL where you can actually go and download JDK and as well as JRE. Coming to JMeter version, we need to go to Apache JMeter website as mentioned in the second point. and you need to actually download the binaries. As I'm using Windows platform, my PC is on Windows platform, that's why I've shown the zipped folder. So you have to download this zip folder on your machine, and next step is unzip the zip or tar file, whichever is suits you for your platform, and just extract all the files into the directory where you want to install JMeter. So downloading and unzipping of JMeter is done. Next part is the environmental variable settings. So for Java environment settings, first we need to locate where my Java JDK installation directory is. So once you get that, so the next step will be setting up the environmental variables. So as I'm mainly focusing on Windows in this tutorial, so for Windows 7, you can go to My Computer and then select Properties and Advanced. So there you will find environmental variables. So coming to Windows 8 and 10, it is mentioned how you can navigate to environmental variables. So under environment variables, you need to go to System Variables and click on New. As you are doing it first time, you need to mention the Java home as a variable name, and there you need to mention your Java development kit path. So as you can see, for the Java home, as JDK path means, it will be something like C program files, then Java, then JDK and the version. So once you go to that particular folder or directory, you will see different folder inside it. There will be bin folder and there will be multiple folders inside that. So once you set the Java home variable under system variable, again you need to set path, one more variable you need to define. It will be predefined because it will be used for by other application programs also. So once you go to path, you need to again click on new, and you need to give the Java home and the bin folder path. So it will be something like %java underscore home %/bin. You can directly give the Java JDK file path until bin directly into the path variable, but it is advisable to first define the Java home and then mention that Java home inside the path variable. So once you do this, your JMeter has been installed and it is ready to use. Next, we'll see what are the different JMeter features. So whenever we say JMeter, first things comes in mind is it is an open source and it is platform independent. What does platform independent means is the JMeter script which has been developed on any Windows machine can easily be executed on Linux or Mac machines also. Apart from this, it is very easy to install, as I have shown you in previous slides, that it is very easy to install and download also, and even the configuration part is very straightforward. After that, unlimited testing capabilities. So it is license free tool. There is no cost on the licensing thing. It is completely open source, so you can actually run it for 1,000, 2,000, 5,000, how many users you want. But the only thing you need to check is what are your system resources capabilities. you need to check your capacity of your particular system where JMeter has been installed. If it is high configuration machine, then it can be easily run and up to 500 to 600 users at a time. And apart from these features, it supports multiple protocols. As I have shown in the first slide, that there are multiple protocols JMeter can support. There are DB protocols we can use, HTTP, HTTPS, FTP also it is supported easily. So these are all the JMeter features. We will come to know in the latter part of the tutorial friendly how how friendly is JMeter GUI also. It is very user friendly, and if you see one of the script, then you will understand how easy it is to develop script. Yeah, these are all about the JMeter features. Now next is different types of launching of JMeter. So basically, as you can see on the slide, first one is the GUI mode. So GUI mode is nothing but where you actually, once you are ready with the configuration and settings, everything. So now once your JMeter is ready to launch, you can go to JMeter folder where it has been installed. And after that, you need to go to bin folder. Inside bin folder, there will be multiple bat files. Inside that, there will be one file named as jmeter.bat. You just have to double click on that, and it will open the JMeter on the with GUI mode, that is graphical user interface mode, where you can actually see the test plan open, and you, depending upon your requirement, whether you want to record any script or you want to open any existing script, you can do that as well. We will see those things in the latter part of the tutorial. Next is server mode. So basically server mode is mainly used for distributed testing. Distributed testing is again a different concept for advanced JMeter, where you will be using multiple JMeter machine which will be in the same subnet, and you will be testing by using different machines at a time. As you compare JMeter with other tools, there are no controller or virtual. As in LoadRunner, we have different three components of tool, like one is analysis part, one is viewgen, one is controller part. But in JMeter, all are on the same application. There are no different installation you need. You just have to install the whole zip folder of JMeter. You have to unzip it. So all controller analysis and the scripting part all will be done on the same application. So yeah, coming again to server mode, how we actually will run it is that again you need to go to bin folder where your JMeter has been installed. Either you can run it through CMD or you directly can double click on the jmeter-server.bat file, and it will execute the JMeter server thing, and it will be ready for your master slave configuration for distributed testing. So why we are using server mode and what is distributed testing, that we will cover in the different topic under in the latter part of the tutorial once we move forward with the JMeter basics. Now, last but not the least is the command line mode, which is widely used for executing the test. So one thing which is very basic and which is very important also, whenever we are actually scripting, we should use GUI mode, and whenever we are debugging also, we should use GUI mode. But once we actually do the load test, we should always try to do on the command line mode. Why? Because if you run the actual load test on your GUI mode, it will actually create lots of data in the JMeter log file, and it can actually take up all your system resources where JMeter has been installed. That's why it is actually advised always to run the execution, the load test on the command line mode. So for command line, how you need to execute is you need to go to the command, you need to run the CMD, and inside that you need to navigate until the bin folder of your JMeter path. You need to provide the command as JMeter -n, that stands for non-GUI mode, then -t, that is for test plan, and after -t you need to mention the whole path of your JMX file, which will be your script path, and after that you need to mention minus sorry my bad -l, that stands for logs, and after that you need to mention the result path where you want to actually save the result once the execution is completed. So you need to mention the whole folder path including the file name which you want to give for your result path. And again, if there are any proxy settings which are needed for your execution, you need to mention the proxy IP after -h and port number after -p. So you can see on my slide, I have mentioned the meaning of different component of this command. So JMeter -n is the you are running your JMeter in non-GUI mode. Then -t, then testplan.jmx, that is your name of the file contains the testplan or your script file. Next is -l log.jtl, that is your where you want to store the log file, that is the test result. And after that you need to mention the proxy server and proxy port number. So these are the different types of launching of JMeter which has its own purpose. So this is all about the launching of JMeter. So next is the overview of JMeter GUI. Once you open JMeter on the GUI mode, this screen will open as you see on my slide. So here you can see different tabs, that is file, edit, search, run. There are a few buttons also. And one thing is that which has been changed in different releases is before JMeter version 4, there were two components on the JMeter GUI. That is, one is test plan, another one was workbench. But now you can only see test plan as part of your JMeter GUI once you open with the JMeter.bat file. So this is all about overview of JMeter GUI, how we open it and how actually what is the look, how it looks. And this is the current version, which is 5.1.1. So the version, with every version it is getting better and better. So this is all about the JMeter overview.
This conference will now be recorded.
Yeah, coming back to the overview of JMeter GUI, this is the JMeter GUI which you will find as you run the jmeter.bat file. So here you can see the test plan, which is automatically comes once you open the JMeter GUI. So if you want to open a new script or you want to develop some script, just go to File, click on New. After that, you need to click on Test Plan. Test Plan is nothing but where you want to actually add up your script. This is the whole suite which you will be running at the time of load test. So these are the different components added inside the test plan. You need to add thread users or thread group, which is nothing but the actual users, where you need to mention how many users you want to run and what will be your ramp up, what will be your loop count. So these all things we'll see at the time of recording recording a test and developing the script. So yeah, these are the different components which you can actually add. Threads are nothing but the where you want to mention the number of users. After that, there is config element, that is the prerequisites, whatever the prerequisite, whether you want to use any random variable or you want to use any parameterization file, HTTP header manager, which is used for the if you the for a particular request, what will be the headers will be going during the request. So you need to mention over in the HTTP header manager. HTTP cookie manager is used for your which will handle your cookies during your workflow, and there will be HTTP cache manager where you want to disable cache or not. After that, HTTP request defaults, that is the host name, IP address, all those things you need to mention in the HTTP request defaults. And there will be, you can give the counter variable. It totally depends upon the script requirement, what kind of script you want to actually use. Or there are user defined variables, there are random variables, all those things you can actually use. There are many options for config elements which will be your prerequisite for a particular request or the whole script. Then we have listeners, which will be showing the you at the time of scripting, if you want to debug what is the response you are getting, whether it is correct or not, you want to validate all those things, you can use it in using different listeners. So basically, on a very for widely view results tree will be used only for the debugging purpose, because it will collect all the request and response for a particular request. So after that, there will be summary report, and basically we actually mainly focus on the aggregate report, which will actually give you holistic overview of the execution, like what are the 90th percentile, what are so this is your aggregate report. We'll see on that. These are the table you can see over here on the slide. So on my screen. So this is label. Label stands for the transaction name which you have mentioned in your during your scripting. After that, samples are the number of or the count, how many times that particular transaction has been executed. After that, average response time, median, the response time, then there will be 90th percentile, 95th, 99th percentile, minimum, maximum, error percentage, all those things you will get it in aggregate report. So this is widely used for reporting purpose. We will see in the detailed level of the reporting in the latter part of the tutorial. Coming back to test plan. So if you want to actually give user defined variable whose scope will be global for all the scripts inside this test plan, you can mention over here in the user defined. You just have to click on add. Just have to give the name of the variable. Suppose I have given name, host name, and you need to give the server name like ptl dot random url dot co.in. So this is your actually host name where you want to run the test. This is actually the application host name. So this, whichever mentioned over here in the user defined, it will, the scope of this variable will be for whatever elements are present in the test plan. So coming back to the different components of a test plan, there are, after listener, there are timer, which will be used for the think time if you want to provide think time or the pacing time. So these are the different options which you can use for your think time, and if you want to randomize your think time, you can use it different random timers, and if you want to provide some constant timer, you can use constant timer. So these are the different options you will get during your enhancement of your script. So it totally depends upon what kind of requirement your scripts needed. Depending upon that, we will use different kind of timer. After that, preprocessor. So preprocessors are nothing but if you want to provide some prerequisite for a particular sampler or a request which is specific for that particular request. So you need to provide one in the or configure in the preprocessor. What are the different kinds of preprocessor we are using? We will see in the latter part of the tutorial during our script recording and enhancement. After that, we have post processors, where actually which is widely used mostly for the correlation part. So if you want to correlate something in a particular request, you just have to add one post processor. So these, for correlation, we mainly use uh, regular expression extractor or boundary value extractor, or if the response is in JSON, we can use JSON extractor also. If nothing is working, then we might need to use XPath extractor also. So how these extractors works during the script development, we'll see in the latter part of the tutorial. After that, there are many options for assertions also, where you actually want to validate if a particular request is giving you proper response or not. If you want to validate those things, you need to provide the assertion for that. So in assertions also, we have different options which totally depends upon your requirement. If you want to validate a particular text for a particular request, then you have to use response assertion, where actually you need to mention the up of for a particular substring which you want to validate in the response. We have response code assertion also, where you actually want to check if the response code is proper or not for a particular request. There is size assertion also, where if you want to test whether for a particular request, if the data coming in the number of bytes, it should not be greater than this, or it should not be lesser than this. Whatever the requirement is, you can use in the size session. Now next is test fragment. We'll see for the we'll see in the practical session how to use test fragment. And coming to non-test elements, so in the earlier version there was workbench. So now it has been replaced by HTTPS test script recorder, which will be used at the time of recording of your script. So this is an overview of the JMeter GUI on the very basic note, you can say. So if you want to open a particular JMeter script which is already present in your application, you just have to go either to, you can go directly to Open Recent, which will show you the list of JMeter scripts which has been opened recently, or you can browse also. Click on Open, go to the file folder where JMeter file is present. You can navigate through this button and you can directly open the JMX file from this. Apart from this, so once we open, this is, it will ask you for save. You just, so I went to the, this is a very basic script which I have actually developed just for bean shell scripting. So once you open it, it will open the script in the same manner how you have saved it. After that, if you want to merge different kind of script into the same test plan, you can go with the merge option. So you just have to click on merge, and if you want to merge two scripts, so you just have to select this. So as you can see this, you have now two scripts. These are the two scripts which is actually merged into the same test plan. So in this way you can actually uh, look on the different options depending upon your requirement, how you want to actually run the test. And if you want to save this particular test plan, so I have merged two scripts. If you want to save it, you just have to click on save test plan as and just mention the file name and save it. Apart from this, if you want to run it, this is the run button where you can start your execution. So what I'm doing is I am disabling. So you have option to actually enable a particular component. So these are the actual power of JMeter, which is very user friendly. If you want a particular thing which you don't want to test right now, you just have to select it, right click, disable, and toggle means that if it is disabled it will be enabled, and if it is enabled it will be disabled. So toggle, how it works on the keyboard is you just have to go to Control plus T. So it has toggle the enabling and disabling. So for running the script, you just have to go to a particular file. So what I'm doing is I am removing all those things which I have recently merged. You just have to select it and I'm pressing delete. So it is asking whether you want to remove this or not. Setting yes. So it has been removed. If you want to run it for a particular test plan, you just have to go to this green triangular button and click on it. So it will show you the request response bit. As I said earlier, this view result tree will show everything about your all the requests under the script. So this is showing all the request response whatever is present. On the thread group, if you want to run it for multiple times, for multiple user, you need to mention the number of users. I am mentioning here 2. Ramp up period is how much time you want to ramp up all the users. So this is only 2 users. That's why I have put 1 second. Now next is loop count. So here it is mentioned as 1. So it will run for one time for one user. So I have mentioned 2. If I run it right now, it will run for 2 times. Before going to that, I want to show how to actually refresh the logs. So if you have multiple listeners and you want to clear all the data from the listener, you have to click this one, that is the clear all button. And if you want to just uh, delete all the logs from a particular listener, you need to select this one, clear. It will clear the data from the selected listener only. So click on clear, so it cleared everything. Now if I run it again, it will run the whole test for 2 times because I have mentioned 2 users and loop count is 1. If I make it 2, it will run it for 4 times. So I'm adding one more listener. Just want to show you how actually aggregate report also works. So now I am selecting this listener and clearing the data. Now again, if I want to run it, so as I have mentioned, 2 users, number of users are 2, ramp up period is 1, and loop count is 2. So it will run execution for 4 times. So now I have set everything. Now I'm running it once more. So as you can see, this it has been executed for 1, 2, 3, and 4 times. If I see in aggregate report, so this is the transaction name which you have mentioned in the request itself. How many samples in number of iteration it has been executed. Average means average response time. It will be in milliseconds. So these metrics are in milliseconds. Then median, 90th percentile, after that minimum, maximum, everything you will get over there. So as you can see, we have logs in 2 different listeners, and if I want to just remove only from this specific thing listener, we just have to select that particular listener and click on this. It has been, all the data from this listener has been deleted, but in the view result tree it is already there because it was not selected, so I am removing it here also. So this is all about GUI, JMeter GUI thing, and the basics of JMeter. As I said earlier, it is pretty easy to install, download, and it has a very user-friendly GUI, and it is very easy to use. So just download it and try exploring things. Thank you. That's all from today's tutorial. We'll meet again and see different features of JMeter and how to record. It will be really easy to record and execution also because, as I said, that compared to other tools, all the components of a performance tool are on the same application when it comes to JMeter. So this is all about for today's tutorial. Thank you and have a nice day.